During the Nine-Tails rampage and the destruction of Konoha, Minato was confronted by a mysterious man with a mask who will be later known as Obito. When the two faced off, Obito thought he'd won with his encounter with Minato, only to be countered by Minato's Rasengan. After this, Obito admitted defeat and tactically retreated, but why? Why would someone who had the most broken abilities in the series admit defeat and retreat after being struck by Minato's Rasengan in less than a minute? How's it going, everyone? It's your host Edgar Shots here, and today we'll be going over why, or better yet, why Obito failed to defeat Minato. Following up with this matchup, Obito had all the advantages. Obito had some knowledge of Minato's abilities and skills, given he was a former pupil, played mind games during their altercation with Minato, and on top of the fact that Minato was running against the clock. Minato not only had to worry about the opponent in front of him, but the Nine-Tails as well, and he knew the longer the fight drags out, the higher the chance the village will be in serious danger, even with entrusting it with the hands of the third Hokage and the other Leaf Shinobi back in the village. Also have one of those broken abilities in the series, Kamui, adding on top that Obito only needed to get a hold of Minato for a moment before sucking him into the Kamui dimension. So for a recap, Obito had prior knowledge of some of Minato's abilities, played mind games with him to increase the stress and pressure on him, knew Minato had to fight quickly if he wanted to stop the Kyuubi, and only needed to touch Minato for a brief moment to trap him in the Kamui dimension, whether it be with his chains or not. And despite all these advantages, Obito still came up short and lost against Minato. Granted, knowing one's strength and weakness are almost meaningless if one doesn't know how to counter them, but in Obito's case, he had resources and techniques at his disposal that others did not, and could have possibly prepared better. Now, without further ado, let's get into it. Besides planning and preparing for the event for a long time, and having prior knowledge about Minato due to being a former pupil of his, he didn't know everything about him. Unsurprisingly, one of the things he did know about Minato was his speed, which is why Obito cautiously equipped himself with chains during his encounter with Minato, knowing it'd be difficult enough to trap him in the Kamui dimension due to Minato's flying Raijin technique. So when the time comes, he could catch him with his chains and place him in the Kamui dimension. Despite this, he still miscalculated and massively underestimated Minato's speed. We can see when Obito failed to suck up Minato in the Kamui dimension, he mentions how fast Minato was, and even during their fight. Obito thought seeing his sensei up close was enough to give him an advantage, but didn't take into account that Minato would become faster than the last time he saw him, and likely never showed Obito his true speed to begin with. Even when Minato was caught up in Obito's chains, Minato teleported almost instantly. And when Obito thought he had the better of Minato, he got Rasengan from behind. During a war arc, Minato states he didn't teach Obito about the flying Raijin mark, which never disappears, which is why when Minato landed a Rasengan on Obito's back, he was able to place a flying Raijin mark, and afterwards, Minato teleported himself and placed a contract seal on him to separate himself from the Kyuubi's control, which surprised Obito and made him lose control over the Nine-Tails. Now moving into his second and probably the biggest factor of him losing against Minato is due to his overconfidence and underestimating Minato in the entirety of their fight. Besides knowing full well who his opponent is, Obito thought Minato was incapable of dealing any damage to him, and in his mind thought it was only a matter of time before he placed him in the Kamui dimension, and that would be the end of that. Besides his possible lack of knowledge and under preparation while facing Minato, Obito thought he was basically invincible due to his Mangekyo Sharingan ability and having his chains latched onto him, which is sort of hinted in their battle. Obito would start taunting Minato and again playing mind games with him, knowing full well that Minato was running out of time, and thought eventually that would be enough for Minato to slip up and get caught into his trap. Up until this point of the story, even after, Obito had always relied heavily on his Kamui ability. Prior to his battle against the fourth Hokage, he likely never had any trouble dealing with people thanks to his ability, and thought the same trend would continue with his former sensei. Which takes me to my third reason, is that Minato outsmarted him. Obito knew when going into this fight, he wasn't going up against some random Jonin level shinobi, but up against a Kage level opponent and a genius among geniuses. Minato knew full well the person behind the mask relied heavily on his ability when facing him, and just a short scuffle with him, he's able to deduce the fact that Obito cannot attack the same time he activates his ability to dodge Minato's attacks, and similar to Minato, wants to avoid a lengthy battle at all costs. And to top it off, he discovered a way on how to defeat him by just merely exchanging with each other a second time. And so Minato used that to his advantage by throwing a kunai toward him and letting him think he had the upper hand. The moment the kunai passed through Obito, Minato wasted no time and teleported himself into the kunai he threw earlier and inflicted a powerful Rasengan. Obviously, Obito didn't anticipate this outcome, nor thought he received any damage during his conflict against Minato, and so he tactically retreated. Obito was a 14-15-year-old kid up against a prime Minato, quote unquote alive, and by going into this battle with little knowledge, underestimating one of the smartest Kages to ever live, and heavily relying on Kamui led to Obito's downfall and eventually defeat to Minato. Since Obito was in no rush collecting the Nine-Tails right away, and despite failing to capture the Nine-Tails, he decided to retreat. And why Obito didn't stay stick around is actually pretty simple. Obito failed in capturing the Kyuubi, destroying Konoha, and defeating Minato. Now that he has a flying Ranji mark on him, his chances of defeating Minato are now slim to none. So instead of continuing on, knowing it will be pointless, he retreated, and in the meantime, he tended to other matters, such as setting up the new Akatsuki, recruiting new members, finding the whereabouts of the Jinchuriki, and so on. After having everything set up, only then he'll have someone to collect the Nine Tails for him, knowing it will be a matter of time, before having the Kyuubi sealed inside the Geto statue to accomplish his goals, and moving forth to Project Tsukuyomi. That's it for today's video. If you like the sort of content I post, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.